The hum of the hovering transport shook slightly beneath me, a reminder that despite the peace of the night sky, we were flying through uncharted space. I had never been a man of luck, but luck had always had a funny way of showing up when I least expected it. I never imagined it would appear in the form of her, a figure both terrifying and beautiful, standing poised with a weapon I wasn't sure I could survive. I should have been dead. Any reasonable person would have been. But somehow, she didn't strike. And that hesitation changed everything. Chapter 1. The Breach. The station wasn't supposed to be abandoned. Not this one. Astor Outpost, perched on the edge of the Exilium Rift, had always been a hub for interstellar trade and intelligence. Its corridors were meant to be patrolled, its systems monitored, its population accounted for. But when I arrived, I found silence. Thick, choking silence, like a predator holding its breath before the kill. I crept through the steel hallways, my pulse steady only because I had trained it to be. The lights flickered occasionally, painting long, distorted shadows along the walls. My orders were simple: retrieve the experimental data core and report back. That was it. Nothing more. Until I saw her. Her silhouette was framed in the doorway of the central laboratory, backlit by the emergency red glow of the failing lights. At first, I thought she was one of the security drones, until she moved. Fluid, almost unnatural in her grace, with eyes that caught the dim light like shards of ice. "Stop," she said. Her voice was calm, but there was an edge that promised violence if ignored. I froze. Every instinct screamed to run, to hide, but my feet remained planted. She was beautiful in a way that made the fear twist tighter in my chest, like staring directly at a star while knowing it could incinerate you. "You shouldn't be here," she said, and I realized it wasn't a warning, it was an accusation. Chapter 2. The Silence Between Us. I raised my hand slowly, not out of surrender, but as a sign of non-aggression. "I'm not here to fight," I said. The words sounded hollow even to me. They were lies, but they might keep me alive for a few more heartbeats. Her eyes narrowed. There was a pause, a long, agonizing pause where I could feel her assessing me, calculating if I was a threat. She should have attacked. Everyone else would have. Any other being in her position would have fired without hesitation. But she didn't. And then the silence broke, not with her voice, but with something else. A sound deep and resonant, like the rift itself had groaned. The station trembled, and the lights flickered violently. Her body stiffened, and for the first time, I saw fear in her eyes. "What is that?" I asked, my voice barely audible over the sudden clamor of the failing station. She didn't answer. She didn't move toward me. Her gaze was fixed on something beyond me, something unseen. Then the airlock doors slammed shut, and the station shuddered again. Whatever had made that sound was close, and it was coming. Chapter 3. The Chase. We didn't speak as we ran. There was no time for words. The station's corridors twisted unnaturally, the architecture designed for human efficiency, but warped by some older, alien intelligence. I could feel the pulse of it beneath my feet, as if the building itself were alive, aware and hungry. She moved beside me, silent but deliberate, like a predator stalking an equal. Yet every so often, she glanced behind her with a glance full of dread. "They're coming," she finally whispered. "Whatever's in the rift, they can't let anyone leave with the data core." I swallowed hard. I had assumed my mission was simple: infiltrate, retrieve, and escape. Now, the parameters had shifted. Death wasn't coming from her, it was coming from something we couldn't even name. The corridors ended in a vast chamber, one that pulsed with a dark energy I could feel in my bones. At its center was the data core, floating in a containment field that hummed with unstable power. I stepped forward, reaching for it, but she stopped me.
"Not yet," she said.
"If you touch it, you'll trigger them." I froze again. Them? Her eyes met mine. "You wouldn't understand." And then the first shadow moved. Chapter 4. The Rift Stirs. It was like the darkness had taken form, shifting, amorphous, but intelligent. I could hear it before I saw it, a low, resonant vibration that shook my chest and made my teeth ache. The shadows stretched along the walls, reaching toward us like liquid smoke with intent. She drew her weapon, a sleek, alien blade that shimmered in the failing light. But she didn't attack me. Instead, she formed a barrier between me and the rift, her body a shield, her every movement protective. "You should run," she said. "They don't care who dies, but I might be able to keep you alive long enough to escape." I didn't have the time to argue. The shadows advanced. They moved as if they were aware, flowing through the hallways, splitting and merging with impossible speed. "Why are you helping me?" I shouted over the roar of the station. She hesitated, just for heartbeat, then said, "Because you're not meant to take the data, and because I can't let them get it either." Her hesitation was not weakness, it was understanding. She knew what I didn't. The rift wasn't just a portal. It was a sentient force, ancient and hungry, that fed on the ambitions of those who sought to control it. Chapter 5. The Decision. We fought through the corridors together, an unlikely alliance forged in desperation. She was fast, precise, and lethal, and I was slow, clumsy, but surprisingly resilient. Somehow, we survived every encounter, every shadowy tendril that lashed at us. Finally, we reached the central chamber where the containment field held the data core. It floated there, humming like a heartbeat, surrounded by the shadows that had begun to coalesce into a single, massive form.
"This is it," she said.
Her voice was tight with fear and determination. "We can't both survive this." I realized then why she hadn't attacked me from the start. She had known the risk. The moment I touched the data core, the rift would awaken fully, and no one could control it. Her hesitation had saved us both if we acted carefully. "What do we do?" I asked, though my voice shook. She looked at me, her eyes unblinking. "We make a choice. Sacrifice or survive. There's no middle ground." The shadows pulsed, as if sensing our indecision. The air itself vibrated, thick with tension. Chapter 6. The Sacrifice. "I can't let you touch it," she said. Her hand hovered over the blade. "But I also can't let it consume you." Before I could respond, she did something I didn't expect. She grabbed me, not aggressively but firmly, and threw me backward just as the rift surged. The containment field shattered, and the shadows exploded outward, but she remained. She faced them head-on, her blade a streak of light in the darkness, channeling energy I didn't understand. I could only watch as she became the shield between the rift and the rest of the station. The shadows surged around her, and for a moment, I thought she would be consumed. But then something miraculous happened. Her eyes glowed, not with fear or aggression, but with understanding. She whispered something in a language I didn't know, and the shadows recoiled. The rift pulsed once, twice, and then silence. The station trembled no more. When I finally dared to approach, she was there, but changed. The energy had left its mark, etched into her very being. She smiled, faint but real. "They're gone for now," she said. I stared at her, unable to comprehend. Why didn't you attack me?" She shook her head, her expression softening. "Because sometimes the right choice isn't about who survives, but what must be protected. You weren't ready, and I was afraid, not of you, but of what I might become if I let the rift consume me fully. Chapter 7. The Departure. We left the station together, floating into the void, survivors of a nightmare that had claimed countless others. I didn't fully understand her. Perhaps I never would, but I knew this. She had saved me, and in doing so, had changed the course of the galaxy in ways I couldn't yet imagine. We didn't speak much during the journey. Words felt inadequate. Silence was enough. Her presence alone was a shield, and in it, I felt something I hadn't felt in a long time. Hope. As we approached the nearest starport, she finally spoke. "Remember this," she said. "Some battles aren't won with violence. Some are won with restraint. Never forget the fear that holds you back because it can also guide you." I nodded, understanding more than I could explain. The station, the rift, the shadows. All of it faded behind us. But the memory of her hesitation, her fear, and her courage would remain. She should have attacked me, but something scared her. And in that moment, that fear became the thing that saved us both.